Welcome to HCC MovieMakers Academy Movie Reviews. I'm Gerald Tineo.
My name is Nguyen, and we recently saw Exodus Gods and Kings.
Exodus Gods and Kings is a new adaptation by Ridley Scott about the biblical story of Moses as he tries to liberate his people from the Egyptian monarchy.
All right, well, so once again, someone decided to do another adaptation of a story that's so well known. First, there was the Ten Commandments from Cecil B. DeMille, then DreamWorks did it with The Prince of Egypt, and now we have Ridley Scott doing it again.
Yeah. The movie stars Christian Bale,
Joe Edgerton, John Turturro, Sigourney Weaver, and
Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley, there you go. Sir Ben Kingsley.
Sir
Ben Kingsley.
Sorry.
Respect the guy.
He also did another adaptation of Moses. He played Moses himself.
Yes, way back when.
He plays another totally different character.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you think about the movie?
Well, first of all, since it's Ridley Scott and, he's been given a $150 million budget to play with, so this is like a big mega theater affair. So, parting of the Red Sea, the 10 plagues, practical sets, giant sets, and lavish costumes. We all get to see that on screen. However, unlike the Prince of Egypt from DreamWorks, I watched it and I feel like, well, it's good for the eye. I feel good,
It looks pretty.
Yeah, it looks pretty. It looks grand, but I feel empty because it doesn't. It suffers from blockbuster storytelling. It just zips from plot point to plot point like really quickly, just snap, like 150 minutes or so like that. Doesn't really touch the heart in any way, shape, or form. However, what I really do like about it is that, like Noah, earlier in the same year that Exodus was released, it decided to put a little bit of realism into the story.
Noah?
Yeah, Noah did.
Really, with the stone golems and.
Well, it was just trying to, well, not all aspects, but you know what I mean. It's just trying to put some realism into the character. Noah isn't perfect by any means. Well,
No, not at all.
Exactly. He behaves like a tortured person and all that sort of stuff. And Exodus is doing the same thing. It tries to put a scientific explanation to the 10 plagues, and it gave God actually like a physical person manifestation in the film, but it's just like it gave God a physical form for Moses to actually communicate. And what's more interesting is that this form is not even a man; it's a kid.
Yeah, and
who acted really well, by the way.
I disagree with that. I think his
dare
delivery.
You. Anyway, I'm kidding.
Yeah, Scott, I'm sorry. I think his delivery was awkward, and he's playing God, Almighty, and I just didn't like the kid. But I thought it was interesting, that representation, because if you read the Bible, some of the stuff that happens in there.
Okay.
We were talking about it, how a kid, if we represent him as a kid, it's more justifiable, I guess, because since it's the early times of mankind, it would also be like a young God. This is going to get into philosophical, but anyway, yeah, the 10 plagues and everything that happens in it, it's like the wrath of a kid, and that's why I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, and that's what's good about it too, because even Moses complains that all these actions seems to be too cruel, too hasty, something that only people who don't really invest a lot of thinking in doing, and kids do that. And
going back to the hollowness of the movie, you said it felt empty. One example of that I would give is when Moses goes into exile, he finds this village, and they welcome him, and he falls in love with some girl. You were telling me how pretty she was.
Oh
and,
yes,
yeah.
her eyes drives me mad. Anyway, that's for another
Yeah,
thing.
they skip the 40 in the Bible. I think it's 40 years that he's in exile,
Okay.
and that just happens in a very short amount of time in the movie.
Right.
So it didn't feel like when he comes back to Egypt,
Right.
there's no build up.
Yeah, it feels
Yeah.
like it's just given to you. Like, here you go, there it is. It's just like, and you have to take it.
Yeah, I think my main problem with the movie is that it rushes over the parts that are important in the story, like the conflict between him and the Pharaoh Ramses.
Ramses.
Yeah, unlike the Prince of Egypt, where they focus the story on those two, and I think that Exodus is also doing the same. They're
Right.
keeping both of them the focus of the story, but it doesn't go that well.
Yeah, and touching on the Prince of Egypt.
I
it's,
love that movie, Prince of Egypt. It's great.
Yeah, and not to mention some scenes in Exodus. You know, they were filmed kind of like, you know, a replica of some scenes in Exodus are like exactly like replicate the
Yeah.
Prince of Egypt. So that's really cool, you know, to, you know, for someone who, for I don't know about you, but for me, I've already seen the animated film, and now seeing Exodus, and they're like, hey, that seems like that. So it's
Yeah,
very
like the
interesting.
templates.
But yeah, something like that. And anyway, yeah, the Prince of Egypt. It's more emotional. It's well done, albeit animated.
Yeah,
But-
and it's also a musical.
All I ever wanted. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I can sing the melodies of that movie all day long.
Whitney Houston style, Mariah Carey.
Huh?
When You Believe. Are you talking about that song?
No, I mean all the songs in the Prince of
Oh, you
Egypt.
remember them by heart. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I've seen
good.
the movie several times. But going back to Exodus,
Okay.
I guess we should mention the controversy of the casting in this movie.
Well, casting is just one of, you know, many issues that, you know, that drives people to not see Exodus. Besides the all-white casting, it was, you know, when people doing some more research into Ridley Scott, they found out that he's an agnostic.
Yeah, and so
And,
he was
yeah.
kind of like they made him do this movie. He didn't want to do it. He
Yeah.
just got a paycheck and he said,
But
"Go do
then,
it."
but then still, you can see that he did put more. He committed to historical stuff like Gladiator or Kingdom of Heaven. See, he committed into making it look grand, making it look great, and it shows. Then, you know, the cast, you know, enlisting the DP, the director of photography from Prometheus, is one
I
of the
didn't know
smart
that.
choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well-
it's a grand affair. But
Yeah, it is very epic,
Mhm.
but still hollow
yeah.
in the end.
So,
So what would you give this movie?
well, I'd say I wanted to see something big, and I got it. So I think but in the end, I feel empty. So maybe 7.5. That's fair.
That's a bit. I would give
It's
it
a
a
bit what?
5.5.
5.5.
Yeah, it's really well made in a technical aspect,
Okay.
but there are too many problems with this movie that drag it down.
So
for
you
me.
recommend viewers seeing The Prince of Egypt, right?
Yeah, I recommend Prince of Egypt. I don't recommend Exodus, Gods and Kings.
All right, then. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Thank you for watching these MovieMakers Academy movie reviews. We love films, and if you love films, please enroll in the HCC filmmaking program at Spring Branch. We're brought to you by the HCC MovieMakers Academy movie reviews and HCC TV.
Do check us out on YouTube and remember to subscribe.
Thank you for watching.